golfj.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to the golfj.com podcast here on fingerlakes1.tv. It's the week of the Tour Championship, the Super Bowl of the PGA Tour. I'm Jim Sinacropi alongside Rhett Taccone and Doug Brown here inside the fingerlakes1.com studios on the third floor of the North Park building in Seneca Falls, New York. It's Monday, September 17th. Tonight, we'll talk about the Tour Championship. We'll also talk about the Ryder Cup rosters are set. That's coming up in 2 weeks. So, I mean, it's really all come down, to these next 2 weeks here after a long season of golf. We'll talk about the new rules in January, specifically the spike mark rule. We'll talk about the True Links wear golf shoes, which I've been wearing now for, about a month, and they're really, really nice. So comfortable.
Yeah, wear them to work, wear them wherever you want.
Yeah, and
great.
I played in the Seneca Falls Country Club Championship, usually on the Monday night Labor Day of that final match. We have the winner up here, but I lost and didn't want to have the winner up here because I was upset. No, it was actually exhausting, and there was no way I could do a podcast that night. But we'll talk about that. Among other things here, golf related. Gentlemen, welcome back to the studio.
It's good to be here.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
So, my first instinct here with the Tour Championship coming up is that it just doesn't feel like the Super Bowl or the World Series or the Final Four. It's just like the PGA Tour season limping to a close.
It's because your guy's not in it.
Well, I got guys in it.
Just messing with you, but there's a certain guy that we both like, Doug and I, a lot more than you like him. That's in it now, and it's a certain guy that you like that we aren't as big a fan of.
So the whole thing's
not
flipped.
in it. So it makes for a little excitement coming into the week just to see what's going on, and we won't say any names.
Jordan Spieth missed it by one.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's out. Only the top 30 make it. That's the way it goes.
That's right.
But just the fact that this is the final culmination of the season, and I'm personally not that excited for it. I'm certainly not as excited for it as I was the PGA Championship or the British Open or the U.S. Open or the Masters. Right. Maybe not even as excited as I've been for some other stops along the way this year, some of the World Golf tournaments. I don't know. It just is lacking that anticipation. Whoever wins the FedEx Cup, I don't necessarily feel that they're the world champion of golf the way that the Super Bowl champ is, or they take home $10 million, which is really nice.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't think I would chance to say that I don't think we've ever been that excited about this more so than any of the majors or some of the other bigger tournaments. Like I would watch the Players Championship 10 out of 10 before I would watch this, if you're given the choice.
Right.
That's a much bigger tournament in my mind than this whole 3 or 4 week playoff is.
Right. I agree. As sports go, major sports go, this is not a big finale. The Stanley Cup, the World Series, the Super Bowl, there's no real big build up to a finale. So it's all going to come to an end, but it's not at the same level.
so they made changes next year to it.
Yeah.
I think anybody watching this podcast probably understands the way it works. You accumulate points, and when they get to the Tour Championship, the top 5 guys, if they win the tournament at East Lake this weekend, will be the FedEx Cup champ.
Right.
Anybody below the top 5, if they win, could be the FedEx Cup champ, depending on how the guys ahead of them do. It's just a big math equation. So to take a step towards having the winner who knocks that putt in on the 72nd hole to claim the tournament championship to be the FedEx Cup champ next year, the PGA Tour has made it where if you come in as number 1 seed, you get a 10-stroke lead. If you're 2 seed, you start the tournament with an 8-stroke lead, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Which I don't think solves anything. I think it almost makes it a little more confusing.
Right.
It just like we've talked about. I just like the fact that if they got down to the last tournament, even if you took 30, after the second day, eliminate 14.
Right.
And now have a 16-man playoff that's a real playoff the last 2 days. Something along those lines.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
anything,
I'd go as
you
far
know?
as to say invite the top 8 to East Lake.
Well, even that would be, I mean,
And have them play match play.
Right.
30, when I'm number 30, what do I really have a chance at? Patton Kazire has no shot at winning the FedEx
Well,
Cup.
it'd have to
Yeah,
flip
yeah.
exactly upside down for Patton Kazire to
Right.
win, right?
Pretty much,
Everybody above him would have to finish last in order.
And actually in order,
Right.
yes.
So why is he there?
And, in this format, too, we kid you about it, but I would much rather see Jordan Spieth in the mix
Yeah.
than Cameron Smith. No offense to him.
Yeah, but Cam Smith had a better year
No,
than
he
Spieth.
did. He did, and he
Yeah.
deserves it. It's just the format for viewing and for fans of the game. Cameron Smith is not a household name by any stretch, and somebody who you're trying to bring to the game, you want them to. They want to watch Jordan Spieth, or it's nice. Tiger is. There are some bigger names up there this year that maybe haven't been in the past, to make it a little closer. But it just feels like you're missing out if you don't have a guy like Spieth in the.
Well, guys like Keegan Bradley and Billy Horschel and Cam Smith have played their way, and DeChambeau and Finau have played their way to the top of these rankings in the playoffs.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think that they've had better all-around years than. It's just the way. It's just the whole thing is, like I said, you got to do a lot of math to understand it, and in other sports, it's not like that.
Right.
You play the games. Somebody wins, somebody loses.
Yeah,
And it's not always the best team that wins. That's the thing I think that's kind of, I guess maybe the best player doesn't always win in this, too. Billy Horschel won a few years ago.
Bill Haas.
Obviously didn't have the best year. Same thing with Bill Haas. But that's why I think, if you can make your way into the top 8 by the time you get to the Tour Championship, let's show up and let's play 4 rounds of, or that would be 3 rounds of match play, right?
Yeah, something.
Mano y mano with $10 million on the line.
Definitely, it makes for if you've got a match, the final 1 versus 1 for $10 million, that's way more interesting than these 30 guys playing four rounds of stroke play.
Especially when you're pretty much guaranteed it's going to be something like Dustin Johnson versus Justin Thomas.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I mean, with the names that are in there, if you went to this, even what would you have to do? 4 rounds. You would have to go with 16, right?
16 would be 4 rounds.
Yeah.
But that scares me a little bit in the fact that in match play anything can happen.
True.
So if you do get in there as a 16th seed, let's say you're Patrick Cantlay, and he's got as much chance probably to win as anybody at that point in match play situations. I think that the playoffs would truly feel like playoffs if you were whittling that down to 8. But I wouldn't be comfortable with the final 8 that's here playing match play.
Right.
I don't think that, Keegan Bradley and, Bubba, they've gotten hot as of late.
It's a decent top 8.
DeChambeau definitely got hot.
Yeah,
We
DeChambeau
wrote
being
him
the
off 2
1
months
seed.
ago.
He was losing
Now he's
his
the number
mind.
1 seed. So it's all top heavy towards the playoffs to get where they are today.
You just think over these years they would have been able to tweak this a lot more than they have.
Can I make a proposal?
Sure.
PGA Tour buys the PGA of America. Okay, they combine. So they're one entity now. It's confusing enough as it is.
Right.
I understand that the PGA of America is made up of club pros, so the PGA Tour is made up of touring pros. But you're all golf pros. Let's combine those organizations and let's put the PGA Championship at the end of the season as the final major, and then perhaps work on, instead of being a giant field, not like it is now, it would be trimmed down to be a true end of the year champion. That way you're playing for a major championship and the FedEx Cup title. I don't know, just a proposal. I don't know how feasible that would be. But I know that the PGA of America probably has had difficult times as of the past several years. It's just because of the way the golf industry is.
You're talking about financially.
Yeah.
That they could be purchased because... Yeah, but I think they would be balking at it overall because they would lose the number of spots they get in the event.
Oh, yeah, it
If
would
you
be
trim the
totally
field.
different.
I think they get 20 now, don't they?
Yeah.
Something like that. So I think they would say, wait a minute, what benefit is it to my guys?
Yeah.
So I like the one we kicked around before where it was just a straight match play. Call it the best 8 or the best 12, the best 16, pick a number, But that makes a lot more sense. Because you could do even a Wednesday to Sunday event if you wanted to have a bigger field.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could do a Friday to Sunday event if you want a smaller field. Right? So.
Well, yeah, I don't know why all of a sudden over the past several years there's been this push to crown a champion in that manner. Golf was always very healthy back in the days when they just played it out, and whoever was the leading money winner was the leading money winner.
No question.
Well, they're obviously trying to keep the interest into the fall because it's going to be Labor Day weekend next year.
No, it'll be over by before Labor Day, which I thought was a mistake too.
So they carried this out into late September, early October before.
Right.
So it's just to keep interest, and that's why they flipped the schedule around as well to do that. 2019 starts late October.
Yeah.
Right, to keep them interested. So, but in that interest, they might have need some adjustments as we go forward.
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, I think the state of golf is good. I think certainly all the major championships are healthy. Mm-hmm. And, we could argue that the U.S. Open's taking a little hit. But, the state of golf in general is kind of rebounding. And the popularity of the top players on the PGA Tour is probably as high as it's ever been.
Yeah.
Tiger's back. It's just
What'd you say?
Tiger's back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where is he? Where is he?
Like 20th.
20.
Okay, just want to make sure we got the evidence of you saying that. That's all.
Yet to win.
Right.
You thought he might have, being in contention as he's been, but so for Tiger's not going to win the FedEx Cup probably.
Probably not.
Yeah, but he's had success at East Lake. Mm-hmm. He could win the Tour Championship as his first win back.
The event itself individually is a big event.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good feather in your cap if you win the tournament itself.
Yeah, it is a great tournament. It's just too bad that the tournament can't stand on its own because you're going to always be doing the math. And so if Billy Horschel makes a birdie on 18, that might mean that Justin Rose is the FedEx Cup champ instead of Dustin Johnson.
Right.
And the problem is there's two events in one is what the problem is. Right?
In the Tour
because somebody's going to win $2 million to win the event.
Right. They'll get a trophy.
In the Tour Championship.
The Tour Championship. $2 million. Nice, right?
Right.
But then it's overwhelmed by the $11 million for the FedEx Cup.
It used to stand on its own. It'd be I would say, after the players probably was in that genre and that level of a tournament because it still wasn't it a limited field still at that time? It wasn't. It was like 30 or something along those lines.
It may have been 40 something, but it was.
So it was a bigger deal. Those guys, really, grinded and wanted to win that tournament. So I feel like that's been lost by putting up just a straight money event that they talk about all year long because FedEx probably paid them $1 gazillion.
I think it's a problem that NASCAR and the PGA Tour have gotten themselves into with saying we're going to try to be like other sports and have a playoffs and
be your own sport.
It doesn't work for these individual sports.
Right.
No.
The tennis doesn't do it.
Right.
I don't know what tennis does.
I think they're just a ranking system, and they do have their 4 majors every time. I mean, you don't have the other tournaments. Aside from like Indian Wells and Miami, you don't even hear about those other tournaments.
All about majors.
Yeah.
And it's truly the same with golf.
Yep.
Golf fans enjoy the other stops. It's fun to watch on Sunday, watch guys play. But the only thing that matters are the 4 majors. We do remember the FedEx Cup champs, though. We could name them going backwards since they revamped this schedule. But
do we care?
Yeah.
So Billy Haas won a few years back, right? So, but if he walks in this room, we don't go, man, he's a FedEx Cup champ.
That's right.
If Bubba Watson walks in here, he's got 2 green jackets.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a whole different world.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I think it's going to be that way forever with this thing. I don't think it's going to have the accolades maybe that it deserves, but I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. It's not going to be a Hall of Fame defining moment, I don't believe. Billy Horschel's not in the Hall of Fame because he won the FedEx Cup.
No.
He had 3 good weeks.
It goes on his resume and it looks good, but unless you have those major titles, that's all that matters in golf.
It's just
he had 3 good weeks at the right time.
So that's why Jordan Spieth three majors, one step away from the Grand Slam. He's not at East Lake, but he's got three major championships. He's 22 years old.
Yeah, well, life is so bad, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And when we talk about his accomplishments, we don't say he's a FedEx Cup winner. I mean, he did win
and
it.
he did win that.
And we don't really care because,
right.
he won 3 majors.
Right.
We're never going to say or brag about Tiger winning 2 FedEx Cups.
Right.
Who cares?
I think we're fascinated more with the $11 million bonus
Yeah.
than we are the actual trophy and what goes along with it. I think
But even that,
$11
you
million.
can't make a number big enough where we're going to say, oh, man, you can imagine how nervous these multi-millionaires are going to be when they have a putt for $10 million. It doesn't... I'm sure they'll take the $10 million, but it isn't even that influx isn't that big of a life-changing event for the guys that are at the top of the standings.
I mean, if Aaron Wise has that putt, it's going to be a big deal for that 5 minutes, because it's not expected, and he's all set for life or whatever. Dustin Johnson has that putt. Oh shoot, he missed it. Right. Well, he's missed putts before. He's made putts before. He's a major winner. Who cares?
Yeah, and Aaron Wise has no chance of winning the $10 million, even though he's there. I mean, it's such a mathematical impossibility.
I think the guy that can get the most out of it is Tony Finau.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
never won.
Other than Puerto Rico Open.
Right.
Doesn't really count.
Yeah.
This would be his biggest win.
He's on a Ryder Cup, but I think for him as an individual, probably going to get the most out of this event if he was to win.
And if he wins the Tour Championship, which he'll get lost in the mix if he does win it, and he wins because he'll win the FedEx Cup, that's a huge win for him.
Yes, it is.
But they won't talk about that,
right.
Because we'll say, hey, he's a FedEx Cup champion, won the $10 million.
Right.
Which, I would much rather talk about him winning his first tournament being the Tour Championship
right.
than I could care less if he wins the FedEx Cup.
And I think in that vein of who can do the most or who these playoffs has really helped the most, DeChambeau comes in as number one. I mean, he... heading into these playoffs, I think he was established, as a tour player, but, he's obviously elevated himself as to one of the top players in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he wins this, then comes back next year, wins a major, because DeChambeau just does things so much differently that I think everybody questioned if he belonged or could fit in. U.S. amateur champ, right? Two-time amateur? One time?
And a national champion, same year, right? He won the national championship and the So he had that big year coming out before he turned pro.
And then
for him, a month or two ago we were writing him off.
Right.
That's it.
Because he had a little meltdown.
Yeah.
Missing in action for a while.
Such a roller coaster.
Right? And then all of a sudden now he doesn't win once, he wins twice. Well, 3 times all year, but he came back at the end and he was very strong.
And has he won 4 total times?
Well, we got him down here as 3.
3? Okay.
Yeah, 3 wins this year, 9 top 10s.
But didn't he win last year as well?
That's what I mean. Like he won the John Deere last year as his first win?
Yeah. He's been on tour a short amount of time. To have 4 wins is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But to have the lows that he's had as well, it's like he
just
wins.
goes off the map.
Yeah, and he's just so...
And that meltdown that he had wherever he was when he stormed off the driving range and kicked his clubs.
Which was a month ago probably.
Went over and hid in the corner and all that. So, I mean, it was weird stuff.
And now he's on the Ryder Cup.
He's a weird guy.
You could make the argument that he might not come back from that. Right?
And he could be a guy that we count on Sunday in 2 weeks to win the Ryder Cup for us.
He's just nuts enough to do it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's crazy with him.
I have a little problem too with the way that they're doing this here. Is like Tony Finau, phenomenal year. He's top 5 almost every week, but I don't see how you could be number 3 with a chance to win and win the FedEx when you haven't won a tournament all year. I think that winning tournaments needs to be the most important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, the FedEx Cup rewards consistency, not mediocrity. They're doing well, but consistency.
Look at the number of events. He played in 10 more events than Justin Rose.
Yeah, 27.
Okay. So that's a lot more golf, but Tony Finau needs to play in more events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So he makes the cut most of the time and builds points up accordingly.
11 top 10s.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But no wins this season.
Right.
He's got the most tournaments on the list, doesn't he? Yep. Oh, no. Patton Kazire is 28. So Brooks Koepka only 16. So, but he was hurt. But, Finau's there because he played so much. It made the cut a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Played a lot and was good every time he played.
Yeah. Now, DeChambeau played almost the same number of events, but he won a couple. He actually won 3.
Yep.
So he missed a cut when missing in action, all that kind of good stuff. But because of the wins, those are 1.5 mil.
Especially the recent wins in the
Yes.
playoffs.
Yeah.
So the playoffs do mean something in terms of trying to win the FedEx Cup. But again, that's a prize that golf fans don't care about.
Right. I don't know if they'll ever solve it.
Maybe not. Like we said, I think match play would be the most intriguing.
And honestly, this is a PGA Tour product. The Players is their biggest tournament, and then now they're moving it to even earlier, which they used to have it in March. Now they're moving it back to March. To me, that should be the tournament that culminates in the PGA Tour.
Yeah, they could play in Atlanta in March
Yeah.
for the East Lake, and then go down
the
to
Players Championship be the last tournament. I mean, there's another way. There's a lot of ways you could skin this cat, but all of them, I think, still come to the same conclusion that this really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's too many bigger tournaments that far outweigh this, that they're trying to build something up that just isn't going to get there.
And how you know it really doesn't is if you turn your TV to ESPN or you listen to sports talk radio the week of the Super Bowl, the week before the World Series, or during the Final Four. That's all they're talking about.
Right.
I haven't heard anybody mention this week. They're talking about on Monday morning on ESPN radio, they're talking about Saturdays college football games and Sundays NFL games. Yeah. They're even talking about some NBA stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's mentioning it. And this should be the week where that's what they're talking about. And they're not going to talk about it next year either just because they move it ahead. They'll still be talking about preseason NFL before they talk about the Tour Championship.
Greenberg's the only one that talks about golf, period. And he makes a point of it. Like
yes,
on his new show, he makes a point. Yeah. Greeny's got to talk about golf bit or something like that he has every Monday about golf. But
all from the Jets.
Like he absolutely has to force it through.
Yep.
And it's on his new show, so nobody's talking about this.
It'd be interesting if there was Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, and Jordan Spieth in the top 5.
Yeah.
Where would that get more notoriety on those shows you're talking about?
I think it would if they were setting up to play matches and we knew that on Friday Spieth was going to face off against Justin Rose.
Right.
And the winner was going to face Woods versus Koepka.
And still only this week. They wouldn't be talking about it last week.
No.
Especially with a 2-week. That's the even worse part about it.
Maybe though, if next week you knew you were cutting it down to 8 and Spieth was 9.
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
I think I know why the players want a week off with 3 straight, but the week off kills it too. It's like, okay, they had a good tournament 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Now we have a week off. Nobody's talked about it since, and now it's going into it, and nobody's talking about it because they've had such a long break. Next year, I don't think they're taking that break, right? Cause
we're not even talking about it. We're a golf podcast. We're talking about what's wrong with it. We're not talking about, oh man,
who's going to win?
Think Dustin Johnson can actually win the FedEx Cup?
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we spent 23 minutes talking about what's wrong with
There'll be more talk next Monday about the Ryder Cup than it will be this Monday about
this.
We'll
quickly recap it, and then we'll be talking Ryder Cup.
I mean, even the other shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think even in a President's Cup year, we would talk more about that.
Yes.
I
agree.
It's just that.
I think we should invite the president of the PGA to be on the show. Offer him some suggestions.
And for a small fee, of course, because consultants get paid well.
We could put him up. We could put him up downtown. Right.
Take him to the country club.
Hell, we could put him up in
Country
this
club
building.
for golf and lunch.
This building's nice now. We
it
could
is
put him
nice.
up in here.
Historic.
These offices are great.
Yep.
Well, first of all, before we get off this, who's going to win the FedEx Cup?
Hey, there we go.
FedEx Cup will be won by repeat performance Justin Thomas.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's 5th. He wins, right?
Yes.
He wins.
How about you, Rhett?
I'm going to go with Tony Finau.
He's never won. Why is he going to win this one?
This is it. He's getting ready. He's primed up for the Ryder Cup.
Keeps his ankles together. He's all set, right? Or intact, not together.
I like the guy. You know I like him.
I think it's Justin Rose's year, honestly.
That's
I
a
just
great
think
pick,
the
though.
way the year has gone for him, and he's right there in second place.
Yeah, I mean, a couple bad putts.
If you're betting, that's the guy you got to bet on. He's had the best year by far.
No doubt.
So,
has a European ever won the FedEx Cup?
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy.
Stenson.
Oh, yeah.
Stenson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of them. Right?
So that wouldn't be breaking any new ground.
VJ's not European, but international.
And before we get off of this, it is worth mentioning because this was a guy that we didn't know what we were going to get from him this year. But Tiger Woods' first start in the Tour Championships is 2013.
Crazy.
So he
that was a great
not
year.
only came back and was competitive, but qualified for the FedEx Cup and sits in 20th place in FedEx Cup standings. It's like boggles the mind. It's amazing.
I think his turnaround in golf is about equal to your turnaround of your opinion of him. Because now you're kind of becoming a my supporter.
Oh, I don't know if I'm a supporter outside of the fact that he is good. It's good for golf that he's in there, so I'll support that.
Definitely.
But
6 months ago, you were a big naysayer.
Well, I didn't think he could ever
Yep.
come back and win.
I don't know if he thought he could. So
No, I mean, I just looking at the guy. He was arrested for driving on, under the influence, and he had that mug shot, and he did come back several times, and something always was hurt. His back, his back.
Yep.
He was talking about glutes firing. I mean, he obviously couldn't play. He had the yips with the chips.
Yeah.
I mean, how could that guy come back and compete? And I thought, in my mind, that what made him great wasn't necessarily the full swing of the ball striking, but the confidence and the focus, and especially in the putting. And I just didn't think that he could return to that, especially with the state of the game now with so many great young players. But he has. He's back.
I think.
And now he's back. But and he could prove me wrong again. I don't think he'll ever be back where people want him to be.
Right.
Like he blew the British Open. He could have
Totally agree.
there. He
Yeah.
could have picked up another major, and
Totally
everybody had been like
That
talking about
tournament was
Nicklaus
his.
again.
Yep.
Yes.
And
He did blow that one.
so there's still
So
things-
2000 and
mental
2001
stuff.
are tough to measure against, right, as he goes forward, no doubt. But you got to, and you know this, I mean, year over year, from last year at this point in time to this year at this point in time, he's a totally different guy in the golf course.
It's crazy.
Of course, he didn't play last year at all, so that's kind of a thing.
Right.
But, I mean, he showed some progress. He had a couple of down weeks, but boy, since about the U.S. Open, he's been pretty darn close.
Oh yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then. Tiger's back, and he is a friendlier Tiger. He's
Yes.
more fan-friendly. He's more player-friendly. He's more media-friendly. Can he win tournaments being that way, or was that part of his edge?
I think so.
I think so. He admits he blew the British Open. To me, that tells me he knows what's going on.
Right.
It wasn't like I wasn't quite ready or all this kind of excuses and all that
see.
kind of good stuff. That thing fell into his lap, and he didn't take it, and he admitted it.
Yeah.
So I think from that point of view, this guy is okay. He's on. He's ready to go. I don't think he's a 2000, 2001 Tiger Woods.
No. But he's a Ryder
Okay.
Cup team member.
Yes, he is.
I think too the competition. Not that it's better than it was then. Obviously, there were some great players then too. But I think there's more guys that are of equal playing levels. I also think too now that he went through a time where he was afraid to swing to blow out his back.
Right.
So I think now he has seen and feels that this surgery's been successful.
Yes.
And he can swing the club freely without having to worry in the back of his mind that is the next swing going to be
Right.
the one where I blow my back
Last
out.
one. Right.
So I don't think that part is there anymore. So I think he's playing freer, and I think he's just from the rust overall. He's about ready to go. I think next year's going to be 3-4 wins. I honestly
Back
do.
in 2000, he was a shot better per round than the field. He'd win by 3 or 4, right? And now he just doesn't have that type of an edge. He's
Right.
probably a half a shot a day behind the field because he's been losing by 1 or 2 or
Right.
3, right?
Yeah.
And that's a fine line. That's a putt that rims out and falls in rather than falls out, right?
Yep.
So there's a fine line there from winning on a tour and not, and at that level. So, but I think everything that he's done, driving, chipping, putting, the whole thing, is all improved during the course of the year. I'm not so sure about the putting changes. The putter changes trouble me a little bit. Now he went back to the putter
back
from
to the Titleist now.
1985 or whatever the hell it was there. But a couple of weeks ago they had to go. Right, he got some other Fang thing out there or something with a.
Then he's had since the FedEx Cup started, he's had he's used 3 putters in 3
Right.
tournaments
Yeah,
because he used that Fang claw, whatever. Then he used a bladed tour TaylorMade,
Yep.
and then last week he went back to
Back
the
to full
Titleist.
circle.
Yeah,
So,
all the way back.
but that's a little concerning because all of a sudden he could feel it better with that putter. Well, he couldn't feel it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know at that level. I putt like a bricklayer, anyways. But anyways, I think he's I think he's poised. He could be ready.
Well,
It'd be good.
he's got to be ready for the Tour Championship, and he is also got to be ready for the Ryder Cup because he's on the roster. I think most of the golf world is more excited about the Ryder Cup than they are the Tour Championship. An interesting little fact here. 55 years ago, when America's Ryder Cup team arrived at East Lake, because the Ryder Cup was at the East Lake 55 years ago, it didn't include a player who had already, a 23-year-old player who had already won the 1962 U.S. Open and 2 more majors earlier in 1963, the Masters and the PGA. So 3-time major winner within the past calendar year didn't make the Ryder Cup team, and that was Jack Nicklaus.
Wow.
Because back then, you had to be like mentored a little bit. Like they didn't just put you on because you were the best player in the world, which is kind of odd. But yeah. So that, I guess, can preface our conversation here about the Ryder Cup. And before we get anywhere, let's talk about the captain's picks for Furyk and the USA. They were Tony Finau, Bryson DeChambeau, Tiger Woods, and Phil Mickelson. Do you agree with those picks?
I do. I wouldn't have, a month ago, I wouldn't have taken DeChambeau. The other 3 I would have taken all the way through. But DeChambeau rallied. I don't think he was on the radar 2-3 weeks ago, but he did so well in the tour, in the championship series there, that he's the hot player. That's why they leave that last pick.
Yeah. I'm still a little nervous about him just because of the highs and lows he's had.
Yep,
and
understandable.
I'm also a little nervous about Tony Finau. I was on the fence between those two and then Xander Schauffele. I was a little disappointed to see him get left off. I thought maybe you could have picked him over Tony Finau. You got to go with Bryson at this point. He won 2 tournaments.
Schauffele has an interesting stat, though. He's got the highest scoring average on Sunday.
Really?
He's like 186th on tour.
Really?
His scoring average on Sundays.
Well, we don't want him, maybe we don't want him in singles on Sundays then.
It's just mind-boggling to be that high.
He's performed well in the majors. I don't think that's something that would be of concern. The guy that I think should be out is Mickelson. I mean, Mickelson is sitting there, though, surprisingly, at 14th in the FedEx Cup standings. But to me, I've not been impressed with him all year. I don't think he's one of the top 10 players. I like Finau being on there because I think in match play, that guy is a dynamo.
Yeah, that's true.
So many options to pair him. He's a birdie machine. So Mickelson should have been a vice captain. But he can prove me wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mickelson lays an egg.
I don't think he'll play that much.
Once a day, probably Thursday and Friday.
Because of his age or because of how he's been playing?
A little bit of both. I don't know with this group. Like, I don't know if there's a great partner for him in this group. There's no Zach Johnson there to play with. I mean, are we going to see him play with?
Ricky Fowler would be one of my guesses that you might put Mickelson with Ricky Fowler.
I'm sure if they play practice rounds together a lot.
I mean, I know they're buddies now, but I don't see him playing with Tiger. They don't match up.
I think you'll see him once with Tiger.
You think so?
I do.
I hope it turns out better than it did the last time.
Yeah, I think. At least image-wise, it will.
Well, that's a whole different deal too. They didn't really like each other then, and that was kind of a stupid pick.
Different time.
Hal Sutton shouldn't have done that.
No,
I think
I agree.
He realizes that. But I'd like to see Finau and Tiger. Maybe
Tiger's main partner is going to be DeChambeau, I bet.
You think
because
so?
They are fast friends. Those two.
They play a lot of practice rounds together too. You got Koepka. Interesting.
Koepka and DJ, workout buddies.
I don't know.
I mean, they're. If you just are going by who's tightest in terms of friendships, DJ and Koepka are the best friends of any group on here.
I don't know if you play them in alternate shot though. They both
Reed and Spieth we'll expect to see, right?
Right.
Yeah. About Ricky.
I think him and Watson are the closest.
Ricky and Bubba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen those guys
That'd be a good
in
one.
coveralls or whatever they do in the
You got
free time.
Simpson.
Webb Simpson.
Simpson and Mickelson.
That could be.
This is a very different group.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Reed.
I love it. I love the team.
Yeah, like even the ones we were talking about the captain's picks. You can't really go wrong with any of the three of them,
Right.
based on one's resume, the other two the way they're playing. So, it's a very solid team.
I think there's a lot more drama on the European side as to who has not made it and who didn't get. Like Sergio got picked as a captain's pick. He is awful right now.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since the Masters.
Great
last
Ryder
year.
Cup player, but pressure's really on him. He'll melt down if he can't perform.
Yep.
And the Spanish player who's probably playing the best, and this would be including John Rahm as of lately, is Cabrera Bello, and he got left off.
Yep.
Stenson got a captain's pick. It's Paul Casey
Me and Poulter, yeah, Casey Poulter.
and Poulter. So they're really going on historically good Ryder Cup players, which I guess with all the success they had, I guess you could do that. Mickelson, like I said, in contrast, Mickelson doesn't have a wildly successful Ryder Cup career. He's really caused a lot of trouble in some of the Ryder Cups with his mouth, and so hey, they should be great matches. The European team's obviously very strong. You know, we'll bring Dustin Johnson. They'll bring Rory McIlroy. You know, we'll bring Bryson DeChambeau. They'll bring Tommy Fleetwood. Everybody's matches up pretty well. You know, so they'll just play the matches. That's what's great. It's great to see golf played in a different way than the 4-round stroke play tournaments where you turn on Sunday and you're going to see a splattering of 4 or 5 guys who happen to be playing good that week. This is different ball game.
It's just too bad it starts at 2 a.m. because it's in Europe, but I'll be up watching, and I know you guys will be too.
You see the grandstand they built on 18, the first tee on 18? It is huge. It's the biggest grandstand I've ever seen for golf. I mean, it's got to be, I wish I knew exactly how many
It's up
rows,
there.
but it's like 80 rows high. I mean, it looks like they took a chunk out of the Superdome and put it next to the green.
Did you guys see that bit that Rory did with Stenson and Fleetwood and Poulter, where they called
Went in the car and they prank called Bjorn.
They called Tom Bjorn and told him that they had tried cryo chambers at the BMW and that they really loved him. And Tommy shot a 62 the next day and Rory shot a 62 the day after. He said, and they were talking about getting them, and he's like, yeah, we'll see. And then they were like, well, you know, it might be a little bit of a reach. Do you think we could all get one? They're like $20,000 a piece to rent. So that was pretty funny. They were messing with him a little bit.
So that's coming up 2 weeks from now. And we are already almost 40 minutes into this show. One thing I wanted to talk about while we were here, we all know the new rule changes are coming in January. You'll be able to drop from your knee. What are some of the other ones? There's a smattering of new rule changes that the USGA and RNA have agreed upon. That they've printed the new rule books.
Right.
Okay, maybe that's why it came out this week and people were talking about it, because the one rule that seems to be the most controversial is you're going to be able to tap down spike marks. That means when we play on Sunday morning, we can tap them down. When they play at Augusta for the Masters, they can tap them down.
Right.
And when you start to envision what that will look like when you're watching a PGA Tour event, I don't think it's a pretty sight. It's going to look like curling out there.
Right.
I mean, and you can tap down spike marks, but I can just see guys out there spending, 20 seconds tapping down the whole line of their putt.
Yeah.
And what happened to play the ball where it lies and play the course as you find it? There's no other rule in golf that lets you manipulate the path of the ball.
Right.
You can fix a spike mark or a ball mark, but tapping down spike marks, nobody even wears spikes anymore.
Well, some of those soft spikes
Scruff
still
it up.
dig in pretty good, especially for those who don't know how to walk in them. Right? You do a little twisting on there and you tear it up pretty
I
good.
see it every week
Yeah.
on the locally when I play.
Right. I'm just concerned about pace of play and maybe on the legal side too. About you could almost make a groove if you do it the right way. That the ball's going to go right where you tapped it down.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's basically putting in a groove and it goes in the hole.
Create a little trough.
Yeah.
They did reduce the time for searching for a ball down to 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
From 5.
Out of bounds, a stroke and distance now if you want it to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Tour doesn't do it, but
I think
clubs can do it.
A couple of the ones with the ball at rest, though, There's no penalty for accidentally moving your ball during a search for it.
Mhm.
There's no penalty.
So I'm surprised by that one because it leaves open the possibility for you to cheat
Improve it. While you're
without
looking.
cheat, but then
right.
say, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that." You
Right.
see your ball's underneath a pile of, or it's in a bad spot, and you just happen to kick it. Oh, look, I found it. I
Yeah.
almost stepped on it.
There's also no penalty for accidentally moving it on the green.
That one's
That's kind of in the
little
recovery.
doesn't bother me as much after seeing what happened to
I think that's probably why
Dustin
they did that.
Johnson, and yeah,
Plus, because there's no competitive advantage. to the
Right.
ball.
Right.
The one you're talking about when you stumble across it to find it, there could be an advantage to
Sure.
it. The one that accidentally moves, it's not going to move 25 feet.
You can also, if you don't know exactly where your ball was, you can replace it on an estimated spot. So you can basically, I think it was here.
You mean for like a lost ball?
Yeah, it says when the original location of your ball is not known, you can replace it in an estimated spot.
what with a stroke penalty?
It doesn't say. Just let me see. Let's read a little bit more about that one.
Well, the spike mark thing I think is going to be one that's going to eventually be rescinded. And it's funny because I'm playing golf in the club championship final match, and I got a putt with spike mark in my way, and that's just the way it goes. But next year I'd be able to tap that down. I mean, usually too, part of the etiquette on tour is when you exit that green, if you left a spike mark, you'll tap it down yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I really don't like. Most of the other ones I'm fine with, but tapping down spike marks, it just
So it's
seems...
going to be interesting to see what happens on TV because all you need is the first course or two to have, relatively soft greens that get spiked up a little bit because there's 144 people out there, especially the afternoon round.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be watching them in Hawaii, and at 7 o'clock at night, and they're going to be going through that routine with threesomes. And it's going to be interesting, especially as you get closer to the hole. You're more apt to tap them down.
Just doesn't look right.
So,
It won't look right.
yep.
But we'll find out in January when the new rules go into effect.
I'm just disappointed there's not a shot clock. That was the best thing I saw on a European tour. That shot clock.
For that would be a PGA Tour
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah.
Like these are rules that are affecting every golf.
everybody.
We should have one everywhere.
You think we could have one for amateurs?
Why not?
Start installing them on the golf carts.
That's right.
So
They should just have your set a time, and then your golf cart just goes directly to the clubhouse when your time's
That's a good
up.
idea too.
No
Get the
matter where you
GPS
are.
system. Say you got 4 hours.
No matter where you are, it's coming to the golf clubhouse,
I like
whether you're in it or not.
I like it.
It's taking your clubs with it.
I think it was a month or two ago we interviewed one of the founders of True Linkswear.
Yeah, Jason Moore.
Yeah, and it was a great interview.
Yeah.
I love talking with guys who are trying to bring a new product to market.
Yeah, and at the time, this was before these next wave of shoes came in.
It's pretty interesting. So now I've had a chance to wear these things, and you have too, right? You got a pair?
Yeah, I wear them to work. They're very, very comfortable.
True Linkswear is the name of the company, and the reason we're bringing this one back is because they say right here on their website, comfort guaranteed. Well, they're so comfortable, I struggle to put another pair of shoes on, and I don't wear them golfing either. I should say that. I wear them at the course. I wear, but I
don't want to mess them up.
Yeah, well, mine are white, so I mean, I could probably show it to you right here, real quick. Why not?
Throw that up there.
There it is.
Well, you got to change the camera, Jimmy. We can't.
Okay, got it. I got it.
Hey, he's trying to do a lot of stuff over there.
So
there we go.
Here they are. And they're white.
Now that's the knit.
I haven't been
model.
able to keep them clean, and this is the knit model. Yeah,
You could throw those right in the wash. So
right,
and without any issue, they'll be fine. But one of the things, the knit, as opposed to a leather or anything like that, which you'll see a lot in the the sneaker world, is it's so much lighter. I mean, that's the lightest shoe I've ever put on my foot.
That's part. Yeah, that's part of it.
You really feel like you're walking barefoot. And then the cushioning that they utilize and the wider toe box in the shoe itself really lend to a almost walking barefoot experience. Now, they said that in the past with their other shoes, and they're very comfortable too. I have a pair of the originals as well that I got earlier this year, and they're very comfortable, and I've played a lot in those. There you see that one right there. That's the original.
Yep.
But the knit is on a whole nother level as far as golf shoes go. We've tried a handful of them in different brands, different companies over the last few years, and easily the most comfortable shoe I've ever put on my foot.
I agree. That's the thing. It's a golf podcast. Like I said, I haven't worn them actually golfing, although I probably could. Oh, yeah. It's just I like to wear them. I actually slip them on after my round, and it's like, feels so good. But
they're legitimately as light as you can probably make a shoe, with having it be stable and supportive. And definitely if you're on your feet all day, that's something I would wear. Golfing, I might have to get another pair just so I can golf in them because I don't want to mess them up.
TrueLinkswear.com, TRUE linkswear.com. Had to bring that back because so impressed.
Good job, guys.
So I mentioned off the top, we usually on Labor Day, our Labor Day Monday episode, we bring in the winner of the club championship at Seneca Falls Country Club, our local course. And last year it was Jimmy Panic who won it. The year before was there he is, Doug, right there. So this year there was a chance for another host to potentially win, but I lost to the eventual winner, Steve Brown. It was the second time I lost to Steve Brown in the finals. I'm still looking to win that club championship, and it was such a grueling tournament, and it was so hot that when it was over, I couldn't.
Now, did it come down to the last hole? It looked like it did.
It came down to the last hole.
I saw all the pictures through the match. And
it came to the last hole. I was
36
18-hole qualifier. I was 1 seed, so there was only 16 guys trying, and there's 16 guys in the match play component. So we were playing for seeding. A lot of guys were like, "I don't even want to play. What's the matter?" Well, I was like, "I want to be number 1 seed because 16 seed, whoever that is in the 16 field, is going to be. You're not going to get." I figured it would be an easier victory, and it was. It was a guy without a lot of match play experience. It was a guy I respected his ability to hit the ball and make birdies, but it worked out, and I was able to advance. So we played 36 on Saturday, come back Sunday for 36 more, 2 matches, and then the finals, a 36-hole final. And
that's a test of will.
I was 4 down early, ended up the first 18 up 1. We went back and forth for it all. I lost 16 to go 1 down, then I won 17 to even it up, and then I stood on the 18th hole, the 36th hole, the 106th hole, 108th hole, the 100 and how many holes would that have been?
108.
72
108.
Plus 36 more.
108.
108th hole of this thing, tied with pretty much the number 1 golfing goal that I want to accomplish personally.
Right,
and I double bogeyed the hole and lost.
Right there.
And I was devastated. I was literally devastated for about 30 minutes. Like, I was devastated. And then I was fine.
Did your second shot...
I hit a bad tee shot, and then I hit a bad second shot, and then I hit a bad third shot, and then I hit a bad fourth shot.
Well, just with the pictures, I couldn't tell on the drive, but I could tell your second shot wasn't where you wanted it, because if you're in the right spot or where you want to be on.
I was actually got a break. I blew my drive right, and it hit a tree and bounced back into play where I could hit a cut, draw a hybrid right down the middle and get it inside 100 yards easy. And in that shot, I mishit. And then I mishit the next shot, and then I mishit a chip. And if I could go back in time, I would have made some things different. But
right.
I'm not too hard on myself about it. After I thought about it, I was really, like I said, upset by it after it happened. But it was just such a grind that day that my body wasn't able to deliver what I wanted it to deliver. I tried. I thought I was able to when I took the club back to hit the shot. And Some of it was probably, I don't think it was nerves, because the whole tournament is nerves. I just feel like, and I wasn't thinking about, this is it, you're here, you're gonna, you're tied on the last hole. I was just trying to hit the shot, and I just didn't hit the shots. I made a mistake on the 18th tee. I think if I could go back and do anything different, all day long it was firm out, so I could hit this little cut shot that would roll forever down the fairway. And I'm playing against a younger kid, Steve Brown, who hits a big ball, and my little cut shot would end up right next to his, what would appear to be a more booming drive. And so every time I got up on the tee first, I just put it down there in the fairway, let it roll, and I felt like that was a little dagger in my opponent.
Yeah.
So I rode with Bob LaPrade. He was my caddy for the 36 holes, and I really enjoyed competing with him and the conversations we had, and we had a really good thing going. And honestly, he was focused all day long, which is hard. And so that was really good. And we were going from 17 to 18. I just won 17 to even the match, feeling confident I was going to win. And we talked about what I should do off the 18th tee, because that tee shot to me, it favors a draw. And we decided I was going to hit that cut shot again, roll it right down there, even if it rolls into the right rough. It's the shot I hit best all day. And then when I got to the tee, I changed my mind and tried to hit a high draw, and I hit a horrible shot. I should have trusted my caddy.
So let me ask some questions, 'cause I was there all day.
Tournament organizer, by the way,
and the officiant.
I'm sure he did a fabulous job too.
Well, thank you.
Observations from the tournament.
So it was interesting. So if I was a newspaper writer, I shared with this to Jimmy on the day of the event after it was over. If I was writing a newspaper article after the 18th holes, I would have said the tale of two nines, because the first 9 he's 4 down, and I have to ask, you played this guy before and you weren't successful, and you're 4 down early. I mean, you could have easily mailed it in, right? But you found something on the back 9. I don't know if you have an answer for what that was that you found.
Bobby LaPrade told me as we made the turn, he's like, "You've played great on the back 9." He said, and he played with Steve Brown twice leading up to that final, because Bobby was in the final four himself, lost to Steve Brown.
Yeah.
And he told me Steve Brown's been struggling on the back, and he was right. I've played better on the back this year than I have the front, and so such a long day too, 36 holes.
It
that
is.
4 down isn't that daunting,
Right.
and I've loved this tournament. I've watched it as a kid, and I've watched so many matches of these 36 hole finals, and I've seen guys, whether it's you or a lot of guys that have won it, be 5 down.
Yes.
In that first 18.
Early. But I know that, like you talk about, you get to Monday, fatigue sets in, and there's a piece where you've made it to the finals, and I don't know if we relax or if it's fatigue or if it's nerves, but it's different. For those who haven't played on a Monday and you see a couple shots that don't go straight, it's not that easy, right?
It's harder.
But that back 9 of the opening 18, he comes back to win 5 holes out of 9 and takes a 1-up lead after 18 holes. So the momentum shifted big time in favor of Jim at the break. So great back 9, and you played very, very well in that back 9. You sure did. Okay, and so we take a break, and the rest of the day was, like you said, it was kind of 1-up, even, 1 down, 1-up.
Not a lot of great golf. There were moments, but there was a lot of
but nobody got 2-up.
Yeah,
nobody got 2-up the rest of the way, and it was hot. It was probably 95-degree heat index, and it's a challenge. But he played very well. There was a couple shots that I'm sure both would like to have over again, but yet there were some great shots as well.
Right.
Okay, and that's what match play is. You're only playing the guy.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done. Okay.
Scores,
and so, when he lost 16, I thought he was in trouble. Okay, because now you're running out of time. And I know Jimmy would really enjoy winning this event and all that. So, and now you're so close to the end, you can see it, right?
Right.
But he came back with a great tee shot on 17 to maybe 15, 20 feet, maybe.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is I had a 6-iron from the Blues on 17. It's like a 210-yard shot, or maybe it was playing a little shorter than that. But I have not hit a 6-iron on that tee shot from the Blues ever.
Right.
I should have hit a 5-iron, but I said to myself, you're a little pumped up here. This is a shot you got to hit, and it ended up being the right club. If I had a 5 like that, it would have gone to the back of the green,
far back, 50 feet past the pin or whatever. Right. So, but he makes a nice win there to even the match, and then again the momentum shifts again.
Right.
Because if I'm the other guy, I'm thinking, I'm going to 17. I mean, there's a 95% chance I should win this thing. Yeah. Like maybe on this hole.
Yeah.
Because 17 is not a birdie hole necessarily.
Just have it and you're good.
Yeah. So it was a great comeback, not only after the first 9, but again towards the end of the overall match there in hole 34 and 35. So
when I lost to Steve Brown the first time, I didn't know if I'd ever win one. But after losing this year, I know I'm going to win one. I learned. It's so funny how you can talk. Some guys have enough natural talent to go out there and let it rip. I don't have that much natural talent. I need to rely on experience, and experience is real. And I know that if I get into that final match, that I'll be better prepared. And if I happen to get in that final match again against someone who's never been there before, I'm going to feel so confident because they're not going to know what to expect.
Right.
Not only playing golf after playing that much golf all weekend, and then the dynamics of a 36-hole match, it's not something you get to do very often. But the dynamic of, I might have lost my train of thought here. People watching you golf. Like, there's generally anywhere from 40 to 100 people out there in golf carts, and it grows as the day goes on.
Right.
And if you've never done that before, it makes you self-conscious. You sometimes you'll think to yourself, I don't want to embarrass myself here. I don't want to look foolish. That was kind of how I felt in previous years when I played in front of people, whether it was the Final Four or the finals. But I didn't look or even acknowledge or recognize that people were watching me during that 36-hole final. I don't know why. I couldn't even tell you who was there, until after.
Right. Well, you were very competitive. That's a compliment as well. You're very competitive, so that helps you out a lot, where you wouldn't have mailed it in being 4 down.
Right.
Because you got that competitive nature. And all you can do is one bite at a time of that elephant, and you got 3 down, 2 down, 1 down, etc. Right, and you got back in the game. So having that desire like that is a huge plus.
Yeah.
And congratulations to Steve Brown. Not taking anything away from Steve Brown.
Yeah, no. See, I mean, usually we have the winner up here, but now instead you got the first loser.
Yeah. But I think you're right. In 2015 was a different year than 2018.
Yeah. He got up on me, and then he put me away.
Right. We might have overanalyzed that back 9
right.
in 2015, because I remember you saying you had to get 10, 11, and 12 because you're a little bit shorter holes.
And then when I didn't,
right.
In my mind.
Now you're backtracking.
Right. So now you just go play the guy, and you had more success. So
I think
you did. I'm proud of you. You did well.
I appreciate it.
I know what it's like. I've been on both sides of the coin. It's not that easy.
No. It's a good accomplishment no matter what to get to the final of a club championship when you're playing in that realm. For 90% of the competition is the best players at the club. So
it's our U.S. Open.
So
yeah, it's our major.
Yeah.
It's the one.
But you're gearing up for it. You're working on that all the way in April, all the way up through it. And I think part of it too is a lot of the time you're going out and playing competitive rounds. Each time you're playing, there's something going on. There's a match where you got to focus. So it's not like you're just going out and playing casual rounds of 18 holes and you shoot a score, but there was really no pressure putts needed or anything like that. You're throughout the year you're building all the way towards that because you've got a lot of putts that mean stuff and a lot of shots you need to hit for certain matches that whether it's a regular weekly match or things like that. The more you play those types of things helps you for that.
Well, I'll say one more thing on it as we're running out of time here, and this would be a tip, I think, is that it's the way I felt, and I shared this with Bob LaPrade, who I rode with in the Final Four. He ultimately lost that match. But as far as nerves, I wasn't ever nervous because that's where I want to be. I want to be playing this. This is awesome. It's hard and it's stressful, but not nervous.
Right.
This is like, it took a lot to get there, and so I think that's the way you got to look at it when you're playing in those things. Is like, this is where you want to be, and you want to be playing in these types of situations. So enjoy it. Just enjoy being, like, in the arena, I guess. And yeah, I got a lot of regrets about things that I did wrong that I'll take and try to bring to the table next year and the year after that. And I'm sure I'm going to win. Where before, when I had lost, I didn't know if I'd blown my only chance. But so we'll see. Plus, the better players keep getting older.
And now you got to win the member guest.
So anyways, that we've used all of our allotted time here tonight. We talked about a lot of things. Before we get out of here, Gary Terrace, Geneva Country Club member, 2 aces in the same week, 2 different par 3s at Geneva Country Club, 3 and 8. Aced them both in the span of, I think it might have been 10 days, actually. I don't know if it was the same week. But
Just want one in my life.
yeah, so does Doug. And
Just
what?
one.
That's one where I got you on, Brownie.
Just one.
I got a couple aces myself. No club championships, but
Just
couple
one,
aces.
Doug.
So, Tour Championship this week, Ryder Cup next week. We'll be back next week to recap the Tour Championship and to preview the Ryder Cup. Thanks for spending some time with us again here on the GolfJ.com podcast. Connect with us online on Twitter at the GolfJ, Instagram at the _GolfJ, on Facebook at facebook.com/GolfJ. All of our episodes and the best of the wide world of golf on the web can be found at GolfJ.com. See you next Monday night at 9 o'clock. Until then, hit 'em long, not often.
GolfJ.com